You don't want to wear a nappy, do you?
I mean, I don't want to, but it's better than going to Mars. I've been involved in a bit of fashion design, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I was at work and I was reading this monograph from the 1800s that someone had scanned in really nicely.
What's a monograph, sorry?
Just like an old paper.
Okay.
An old research paper describing species of Neuroptera. So that's things like lacewings, ant lions, mantid flies, and they're really like beautiful creatures. So I thought, well, all of these pictures are just going to waste. No one's looked at them except me for the last 20 years, probably. So I put them on a vest.
Oh, nice.
And it's on the way as we speak from Latvia. So next time we can have some photos in the show notes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you've just done one version.
Well, so, I mean, I don't want to anger the copyright holder. Although I guess it's probably out of copyright now, isn't it?
Yeah, if it's more than 100 years old.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, there you go. That could be a nice little business for me, couldn't it?
It could. And there's the platform that provided our T-shirts for Walk the White, T-Mill.
Yeah.
You can go on their website. They haven't sponsored this episode, but I will give them a shout out anyway. You can go on their website and it sets you up with a platform for printing T-shirts. You just upload the designs, and then when an order comes in, they print it and send it out. And I think you split the profits 50-50 with them. So if you are interested in doing that, it's a good way of doing it, I reckon.
Yeah, if people want bug T-shirts, yeah. They're very popular. Every time you go to a conference, that's what you see, everyone wearing the study species if they can.
Well, I went to Marwell Zoo at the weekend.
Yeah, I saw some photos.
Yeah, it was my mum and dad's 30th wedding anniversary. Not at the weekend. That was earlier in the year. And so my brother and I got them a traditional present, a giraffe feeding experience.
Right, yeah, okay. Is that the 30-year, is that what it is? Paper, leather, giraffes.
Giraffes, that's right, yeah. I would like to come up with my own scale, actually, with an animal at each different anniversary.
First year, bacteria.
Yeah.
Not an animal, but, yeah.
Yeah, some sort of microorganism, or like a starfish or something,
Oh, they've got to be like, no, that's got to be at least 10 years plus for a starfish.
Do you reckon?
You want things that are around for the first couple of years.
What do you mean around?
In Britain, like locally to you.
Oh, okay. I was thinking this could be an international anniversary. Scale? It's not a scale, is it? I guess it is a scale. You're measuring how long someone's... Anyway, doesn't matter. They loved the giraffes. They got to go up into the gantries, are they called? The rafters.
Yeah.
And feed them branches. Much like, in Jurassic Park when they feed the Brachiosaurus up in the tree. It was a bit like that.
I don't remember that.
Oh, okay. Well, it was a bit like that. And, it's a great zoo. Big enclosures, some amazing animals. I saw a sloth.
Oh, lovely.
Really close up. I could have reached out and touched him on the nose if I'd wanted, but I didn't. That would have been disrespectful to the sloth.
Quite big claws as well.
Oh, yeah, they're really big. All right, I'm going to surprise you.
Okay.
Because there's no Dinosaur of the Month this episode.
Has nothing been discovered?
It's not that. It's
okay.
not that. It's worth mentioning, actually, that big dinosaur news this month. An international team of paleontologists have begun excavating a new site in North Wyoming. And they expect to find enough fossils there to last the next 20 years. So plenty more dinosaur discoveries on the horizon.
Yeah.
The reason I'm not doing Dinosaur of the Month is partly due to the fact that I don't want our listeners to suffer from Dinosaur of the Month fatigue.
I mean, yeah, that's fair enough, yeah.
I want to keep them hot on their toes, and I want some people to be like, oh, man, why not, But anyway, and also partly because something happened this month that I think takes precedent. And it's something in a realm that we've talked about before in one of our very early episodes, and I think it warrants a new section of its own.
Okay, am I supposed to be guessing? Am I supposed to be having a think?
You'll never get it, but you can guess if you want.
Is it Boris's corkscrew bridge?
No.
But he is Prime Minister now.
He is Prime Minister,
We talked about it like it was ludicrous.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, it still is ludicrous. It still is absurd. But yeah, all right.
Okay, I'm never going to guess it. Is it favourite sandwich?
No.
Okay.
You're in the right area. You're one episode away, if I remember correctly, actually. Let me send you the new theme tune.
Okay,
so you can
a
listen
jingle.
To it. A new jingle, yeah. All right, I present to you...
Animals taken away by seagulls.
Animals taken away by seagulls? You're right, I would have never guessed this.
So, welcome to the first in a new segment called Animals Taken Away by Seagulls. So I'm sure you remember in episode 3, a seagull was suspected of seizing a small shark and dropping it in somebody's garden.
Yeah, I can't remember whether it was a seagull.
It was a gull.
It was a gull, but it might not have been a seagull.
Well, it was all right. I thought all gulls were seagulls. I thought you specifically spoke to a gull expert.
I did,
and they said
but I can't remember what they say to me.
All right, well, I'm not doing the theme tune again.
No, it's a good theme tune. Go on.
Well, something very similar happened recently down in Devon. Mm-hmm. A gull apparently stole a family's pet chihuahua called Gizmo. It grabbed the dog by the scruff of its neck and flew off while its owners looked on in horror, dumbstruck.
Well, it should have been on a lead.
Yes, no, absolutely. But what a terrible set of circumstances.
I mean, yeah, but why does a seagull want a dog? Surely it can't eat a dog.
Oh, well, they'll eat anything, won't they?
Not a live dog.
Well, let me tell you
I'll
the
ask
story.
the gull expert tomorrow.
Yeah, please do. So the story unravelled. It was quite amazing, actually. So from what I can tell, this was first reported by the BBC, who conducted an interview with the family, heartbroken family, as well as an ornithologist from the University of Bristol. And he said he wasn't very surprised. He said owners of small dogs should not allow them to run around in their back garden.
Well, that's ridiculous. In case they get kidnapped by a seagull.
Exactly.
Just put some weights on it or something.
But then it won't be able to move.
Yeah, I guess so.
The Sun went to town with this story, as I'm sure you can imagine.
I'm sure they did, yes.
Running the headline, "Fears Seagull that snatched Chihuahua Gizmo may have swallowed dog whole." Then they ran a separate story titled, "Is this the psycho seagull who snatched Gizmo, the pet chihuahua?" This is a fantastic article. People say the Sun don't do good journalism. Let me show you. Somebody has taken a picture of a seagull, a menacing seagull.
Yeah, a seagull.
And they've said this is probably the one that took the chihuahua.
Oh God, the picture of the chihuahua looks like a weasel or something.
Does look like a bit like a weasel, yeah. Very small dog.
They're very annoying though, chihuahuas, like very barky. I'm sure the neighbours weren't that upset.
I've promised my girlfriend, who is a huge dog lover, that I will be respectful of the dog as I talk about it. I had to let her know I was talking about it because she helped me with the theme tune.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not going to be cruel. It's not funny at all.
Was
it's
it
tragic.
witnessed being carried off by a seagull?
Yes.
Okay.
And the Sun think that image is potentially the seagull that did it.
On what grounds? Hang on, look at the caption. A seagull pictured near the scene of the attack yesterday. It's a seagull!
Yeah, exactly. If they live on the coast, presumably there are many, many seagulls in the area.
Yeah. Or near a tip.
Do seagulls live near tips?
They
as
love
well?
them.
Oh, do they? Okay. Anyway, the next day, the day after the Sun ran this psycho seagull article, they offered a £5,000 reward to anyone who could find the dog alive.
I guess it could happen, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a nice incentive as well.
I feel like it would have either been dropped or... Yeah, dropped, mainly.
Well, so the day after the £5,000 award was posted...
Reward
was posted. Heart Radio got involved, and they ran a piece with Becky Willoughby, who is a famous psychic.
Oh.
With pet detective credentials. because she has previously used her psychic skills to track down a missing skunk.
Has she really? How interesting.
Exactly.
A missing skunk. Who has a skunk? Use your nose.
Oh, yeah. Now, Becky told Gizmo's owners, the family, that she had contacted the dog. She'd made contact with the dog, both telepathically and energetically.
Right.
And there's no need to worry because he's alive in a garden with a water feature. Although he looks wounded. He looks like he may have been dropped.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah.
So just got to check everyone who has a water feature.
Exactly.
Right.
That narrows it down slightly. However, a week later, the story was followed up by the Mirror after a mammal leg bone was discovered on a rooftop that is known to be densely populated by seagulls.
Who's paying for this investigation?
What do you mean, investigation?
Well, how are they finding this bone?
Well, I think what happened is probably it shook the local community. You know, Gizmo was probably well known throughout the village or the town or wherever.
Because yapping, yap, yap, yap.
Exactly. And then, somebody spotted a bone and they were like, oh, goodness, that doesn't look right. And they probably put 1 and 1 together, 2 and 2 together.
It's probably a very small bone, though, if it's a chihuahua leg.
But
I don't think I'd spot it on a roof.
Depends how bony it is. If it's just the bone, yeah, sure. But if it's got a bit of meat and fur attached to it, perhaps you would identify it as a mammal.
Yeah.
Anyway, apparently the bone was undergoing analysis by local vets, which I love. I love that. Local vets are conducting analysis. That makes it sound like they've got it in, their surgery. They put it through the CT scan. Somebody's got some DNA out of it. They're running it by Gizmo's, relatives, alive relatives. I love all that stuff when clearly all it is some guy's like, yeah, could be.
Yeah, it looks a bit like a dog. The question is, was the dog microchipped?
That's a good question.
Because if so, then the killer seagull can be caught.
Ooh.
You just go round scanning all the seagulls, and then once I don't know how they work, I assume they go ding, ding, ding or something. Then you've got it, and then I don't know what they plan on doing with the culprit. Probably nothing.
Yeah. Oh, that's the seagull that did it.
Yeah.
Well, probably take a picture of it, send it into the sun to run a piece.
Yeah, and they'll be like, oh, it looks exactly the same as the other seagull we put on the article a couple of weeks ago, so...
They'll say it's the same one. They'll say the sun correctly identified the seagull.
Yeah.
Just days after Gizmo was snatched.
I think if you saw it flying off with your dog, surely you'd just throw something at it.
You might hit the dog.
So, better than it getting kidnapped by a seagull.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of like, I'm sure you haven't seen Starship Troopers, but there's a scene in it where, because it's humans versus big insects on alien planets, and there's a scene where a guy gets caught by these flying insects, and then he's going to be fed to their offspring.
Yeah.
They're living like birds in a nest. And one guy's got his sniper rifle on the thing, and he puts it on the animals, but then he moves it down and he shoots the guy in the head. And he's like, I'd expect you all to do the same to me.
Cheery.
So it's a shame nobody could do that to Gizmo.
Mm-hmm.
I feel sorry for the dog. It's a terrible way to go. But in my opinion, and I think that these sections should always end with a little bit of analysis, a little Jerry Springer moment, if you will, a little moment of reflection. Well, I think the fault lies entirely at humanity, because we've taken wolves and selectively bred them over thousands of years until they resemble seagull food.
Yeah.
So
dogs
shame
have
on
had it
us.
easy for a long time, actually. Like, they should be getting kidnapped by seagulls. That's the nature's way.
That is a good point, actually. Lots of other animals don't get the protection afforded to them that we give to dogs.
No.
Lots of chihuahuas go around completely, unharassed by seagulls every day.
In a little bag.
But we don't hear about those, do we? We don't. The Sun don't write an article about, Chihuahua went out and faced no aerial threats whatsoever. And that was animals taken away by seagulls.
Loved it. If I said the word parasite to you, what sort of images would that conjure up?
Something segmented, exoskeleton, internal, probably very small.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily microscopic, but looks a bit like a microscopic organism,
Right.
Something like that. It's like some sort of decapod.
Okay. I mean, what about Dracula?
Of course there are large parasites. The cuckoo, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the vast majority of parasites that I think we interact with as a species are smaller ones that live inside you.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a fair enough statement. It was a bit of a leading question. Obviously, it's quite hard to come up with an image, really, because parasites occur all over the tree of life, right?
Yeah, it's a strategy as opposed to a classification.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can have very simple things like protozoans and bacteria. So things like Plasmodium that causes malaria, that's a protozoan. Chlamydia, that's an intracellular parasite that humans can get.
Is it a parasite? I did not know that.
Well, I mean, anything that...
Any bacterial infection is a parasite?
Well, no. Anything that reproduces at the expense of its host is.
Okay.
So chlamydia would be included in that. Viruses, obviously, are obligate parasites. Like, they can't reproduce without getting all up inside a cell. And then in fungi, there are loads of examples as well. Things like honey fungus or malaria, which grows on tree roots and can eventually kill a whole tree and then feeds on the dead wood. And as you were talking about things that live inside, so almost every species of animal has microsporidian fungi that are associated with it that do a sort of the parasitic route that you were talking about.
And do we have that in us now? Would you and I have that in us now? Or does that flare up when you get infected with it?
Well, yeah. But like there are microsporidian... That's a hard word to say. Microsporidian fungi that will be, adapted for living in humans.
Yeah, but
they're not always with us, yeah.
Right, okay.
In the same way that I don't have chlamydia currently.
Yeah, okay. But like, for example, we have fungi in us that benefits us all the time, like Candida, which can grow and then cause things like thrush. But I guess you wouldn't class it as a parasite then, right? Because it's still an organism that helps you.
Yeah, I guess it depends where the balance of power is, like who's winning, basically. Animals, tons of parasites, more than 500,000 species of parasitoid wasps, a few thousand flies, lice, fleas, things like mites and ticks, those little copepods that attach to fish in marine environments.
Oh, yeah. What about that one? It's a great parasite. It's one of my favourites. It goes in through the fish's gills and then it attaches itself to the tongue of the fish. It basically cuts off the blood supply to the tongue and the tongue falls off and then the little insect thing actually replaces the tongue and then it's at the front of the mouth so it gets whatever food it wants.
Yeah, I think that's a copepod. Yeah.
I think it might be an isopod. Maybe
Okay.
not. I might have made that up. But yeah, have you seen an image of it?
Yeah, I think that's the first image on Wikipedia, parasitism.
Oh, is it?
So I've seen it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then things like barnacles are parasites. Obviously, nematodes and trematodes, like loads of other worms. Vampire bats. Yeah, but what I want to talk to you today is a parasite within the kingdom Plantae. The plants.
Yeah, okay. That I can think of plant parasites.
Go on.
An orchid.
Yeah, there are parasitic orchid species. Not all orchids are parasitic, but some are.
For example, when you go into a tropical forest and you look at the trees, the big trees, they've often got plants living on their branches. Things like orchids, bromeliads, I think, and ferns, lots of ferns. And so obviously they're using the tree to get at that little bit of extra height and blocking off light to the tree's lower leaves.
Yeah.
So it's at the expense of the tree.
Oh, I think plant parasitism is going to be way more dramatic than you think it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So about 1% of all flowering plants are parasitic, and they have modified roots called historia. So instead of having a root, they have like a little straw, which they'll stick into their host plant tissue. So either the xylem or the phloem, and then suck out nutrients or water from the host.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like a vampire bat.
Just exactly like a vampire bat. So mistletoe, for example, is a famous parasite.
Yes.
Possibly the most famous festive parasite. So that is capable of photosynthesis. It's only a hemiparasite, a partial parasite. At some stages in its life cycle, it might make its own food, but most of the time it just prefers to dig into, a big old tree and steal nutrients instead.
I'd heard that mistletoe was a parasite before. I never really knew what that meant. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't have to spend energy photosynthesizing. It's able to absorb nutrients from other species.
Well, so think of a mistletoe up in, the high branches of a tree. How is it going to get water?
I never knew how mistletoe grew in the wild. I didn't, all I ever see is it used at, Christmas time.
For kissing.
Yeah, hung up.
You can notice it well in winter because obviously all of the leaves of the photosynthesizing tree fall off and then you can just see the bough of mistletoe. You have to go to the right place, but it's very nice.
Okay.
Maybe more interesting, though, are the hollow parasites. So they're the ones that get all of the carbon from their host. And it's actually, it's quite a good strategy. The largest flower in the world, up to 1 metre in diameter, is produced by a parasitic species. I'm going to send you a photo of it because I think you'll recognise it.
Is it the big red one?
Yes.
Yeah, on the ground.
So it's Rafflesia arnoldi. Arnoldi, yeah.
Nice one, well done. Yeah, okay. I'm familiar with it because I think you can find them in Borneo. Yeah,
that's right. It's the national flower of Indonesia.
Ah, well, there we go. So I went to Borneo when I was 21 and did some conservation work out there, which was amazing. And I remember meeting quite a few people who had specifically come to the island to find that plant. Not just that plant, maybe see some orangutans and elephants as well. But yeah, I am familiar with this flower.
Yeah, also called the corpse flower.
Yeah, because it stinks, right?
Yeah, to try and attract in flies and stuff.
So it's carnivorous.
I don't know whether the flies are just for pollination. It's not. It takes. So it has no stem, no leaves, no roots, and it parasitizes a grape-like vine. So it sends its historia out inside the vine, and the only part of the plant that is visible is the flower. The rest of it is all inside another plant.
Wow! So it lives inside another plant's vines.
Yeah.
Apart from the flower, which it uses for pollination.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I guess that method is so successful that this plant has evolved the biggest flower.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is clearly costly to produce, right? Like a meter, it's the biggest single flower, yeah.
But who the hell cares when you're not having to work for your energy?
Exactly, yeah. But it's going to get even more interesting. I don't know whether you'll cope with this. The plant I want to talk to you about has been stealing more than just water and nutrients from its hosts. It's been stealing genes. So you've heard of horizontal gene transfer, right?
What do you mean horizontal gene transfer?
So you will have probably come across it in the context of bacteria. So, bacteria are quite promiscuous.
Yeah.
And can just swap little bits of DNA with each other.
Yeah.
So it's basically this kind of mechanism, right? So that's how bacteria cope so well and evolve antibiotic resistance and things.
Oh, really? They
Yeah.
don't... It's not just that the ones that are resistant survive and then they reproduce and then they reproduce.
I mean, obviously that is. The fast generation time is massive part of it. But yeah, being able to get your little adaptive thing and share it amongst your friends is...
How do they know which ones to share? Why aren't they sharing the
when I say
maladaptive
no,
ones?
I mean, it's probably a lot more random than that, but natural selection will take care of the rest of it for them, right?
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know much about that.
There are very few examples in more complex organisms. And when the horizontal gene transfer does occur in higher taxa, what usually happens is the genes get transferred, but they don't get used. But not in Dodder.
Dodder?
Yeah, Dodder. That's the plant we're talking about, the thief. Cuscuta is the scientific name of the genus. I think you'll recognise this as well, because we do have it in the UK.
Dodder?
Yeah, I've seen it growing over gorse bushes and things.
Dodder the gene thief. I've got Dodder, a Polish singer.
Dodder.
Ah, okay. Dodder. No, it's not ringing any bells for me.
There's like a red version that I've seen, like a pinky red version.
Okay.
Okay. I thought you would have seen this.
No, I don't think so. Looks interesting. Looks like I don't know, it looks very wispy.
Well, yeah, I mean, the leaves obviously are very reduced because why the hell does it need them when it can just take advantage of something else's hard work? It basically just wraps all around a plant. It can actually parasitize multiple species at the same time, like an individual plant. It just keeps growing out and finding it. Uses a special sense of smell to locate its host. It's crazy.
So this is what it looks like to me is kind of like an algae in a fish tank, which I get in my fish tank, and it covers like the plants in a sheet.
Yeah,
So
it's like a web over it, right?
Yeah, it's more webby, you're right, yeah. But I can imagine this just, growing and growing and growing, cutting off the light supply for the plant underneath it. Yeah.
Well, that wouldn't be great for it, obviously, but I mean, they can just grow until they kill the plant altogether, anyway, by stealing.
Yeah,
too
that's
much
what
from
I mean, right?
Yeah. So, as I said, when horizontal gene transfer happens in complex organisms, usually they're not used. That's the baseline. But scientists have identified 108 functional genes that have been added to the Dodder's genome through horizontal gene transfer. So these genes seem to allow the Dodder to produce more effective hystoria for penetrating different plants. It helps its defense responses, and it also is involved in amino acid metabolism. So these are useful things that have been added to the genome. But I think the most extraordinary, one stolen gene makes small segments of RNA, microRNAs, that are sent back into the host plant and then silence the host's defense genes.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy? This is a plant.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That just shuts down a plant's ability to defend itself.
Yeah.
And completely renders it vulnerable to the Dodder's malignance.
To its tendrils. So obviously we have to be careful about anthropomorphizing here, because it is a plant. So some of the genes have been around in it for a very long time. So 18 of them are present, are common among all different Dodder species. So that indicates that, this theft has been going on for a long time, Mm-hmm. And it's been retained. But there are also 42 regions in the genome that seem to have come via horizontal gene transfer, but don't have any functional genes. This suggests to the authors that, and I think it sounds sensible, that the plants can't filter through what's coming in. Genes are transferred, and then natural selection does the rest of the work, like I said, with the bacteria. Saving the useful adaptations, losing the less useful ones, right?
Yeah, they're like, it's an absolute free-for-all. Give us your genes, your good ones and your bad ones. If you give me a bad one, I'm going to die. But, my neighbour who got a good one, he's going to survive. Mm-hmm. That's really weird.
Yeah.
That gene transfer thing.
It sounds like a sci-fi film, right? I mean, I've never seen it done with plants before, but like an alien stealing your own adaptations to use them against you.
I wonder where it got the ability to shut down the defence mechanisms of a host plant.
Well, it stole it. So it stole a gene that produced microRNAs that are sent back in, yeah. I don't know where it stole that from, like which species, because these have a very wide host range as well, which is useful.
Sure.
Sometimes I despair at questions like the origin of life and things, just because obviously it's something nearly bacterial, and they just don't follow the rules of evolution as we understand them very well, right?
What do you mean follow the rules of evolution?
Usually you pass on genes to your offspring, right? Bacteria do things where they just share it with whoever's nearby.
Yeah.
And in a way, this makes me despair even more, right? Because that's what this plant has managed to do. And this is just one species, right? There are 4,000 parasitic plants to look at.
So some of the others could be parasitizing genes as well.
In fact, the big
genes.
corpse flower, I didn't want to spoil the surprise, but they have also, not as prolific as the Dodder, but there is some horizontal gene transfer that seems to have gone on between the vine and the corpse flower as well.
Oh, my word. What's it stolen?
Well, I don't know. It's only a big flower. That's all it really needs, isn't it? I assume it's things that make it more comfortable within the vine, like certain proteins and things that the vine might not break down or something.
Yeah, I wonder how big it is. Do you think it grows all the way down the vine?
I think if you're getting a meter flower, then it's going to take up most of the vine, yeah.
Oh, my God. That's so scary. Think of that filling you up with vine or whatever it is, filling you up with hysteria.
But it'd be so slow, right? We can move, so we probably aren't going to get parasitized by plants.
Until they start walking around, until they start horizontal gene transfer from humans, steal our locomotive ability. Are you familiar with the water bear?
The water bear, alias tardigrade, is it?
That's right, yes.
Right, yes. I remember them from the Channel 4 idents when we lived together. And you told me what one was, so you've taught me about them.
They're like little creatures, more commonly known as tardigrades, sometimes called water bears, moss piglets, all sorts of stuff. They're, if the listeners are not familiar, they're microscopic animals around 0.5 millimetre in length that tend to occupy patches of moss and lichens all around the world. Now, have you ever seen an image of an actual tardigrade?
I believe the Channel 4 ident was
What's the
a tardigrade. It looks like a little, a friendly woodlouse.
Yeah, it does. Channel 4 ident. Yeah, maybe. Maybe there was a tardigrade. I can't find it. Anyway, there's a Twitter account that I follow, which is absolutely brilliant. It's called Raphael Marine Microfauna. And he posts short clips of microscopic creatures that he's discovered on the Atlantic coast. Okay. He often enters the Nikon Small Worlds competition, which is just a load of microscopic images, like people competing for the best microscope photography. Yeah. And he has an unbelievable clip of a tardigrade. So let me show you this because it's amazing. Honestly, if you
I've got quite a lot of moss in my back garden.
You'll have tardigrades then, for sure.
Excellent.
So the picture's amazing, but when you watch it moving, it's unbelievable.
Okay, this isn't what I thought it looked like.
Well, there's lots of different species, so they do vary slightly. But this is a genuine picture.
Yeah, I like it less now.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think that's
too many toes.
Yeah, it has got lots of little pads, like a frog feet, little pads on the end. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
It's a tiny little microscopic organism, just moving around. And they're all over the place. So tardigrades have been found in habitats ranging from the deep sea to the tops of the Himalayas, tropical rainforests, and even, the impenetrable polar regions. Probably hanging out with the ice worm, actually.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, they do actually live in ice, just like the ice worm. They've been found in, glaciers and all sorts.
But do they live in ice, or do they
I don't know. Probably as much as the ice worm does.
They can withstand extremes, can't they?
Yes, they are very famously super indestructible. So they can survive temperatures of 150 degrees centigrade. So way beyond the boiling point of water.
Yeah.
But also temperatures of near absolute zero.
Well, then, yeah, they can probably survive in ice.
Yeah, that's minus 273 degrees centigrade.
Yeah.
At which point, even the particles that make up the universe are pretty much sapped of all their ability to move, right? So,
Well, that's what absolute zero is, right?
yeah,
0 Kelvin, nothing.
zero kinetic
We're
energy. Yeah, exactly. So they can also survive 10 years with zero moisture, as well as endure 1,000 times more radiation than most other animals.
It's very suspicious to me, this.
Yeah?
Why can it? Like, what possible reason does it have for that? Like, it lives in moss. So moist.
But the reason that it can endure severe radiation is because it's able to efficiently repair damage to DNA.
Okay.
So it can go in and repair all of its DNA, I guess like we do, but it does it much, much, much better than we can, or any other animals. They're probably doing very well in Chernobyl, actually. So in many ways, and I know I always argue things like this, but in many ways, I think you could probably argue that the tardigrade is more successful than humans.
I don't know.
No?
I mean, if it's as ubiquitous as you say, then I guess maybe. But like, there's one species of humans who's done everything. Mm-hmm. And there's loads of tardigrades. Like, yeah, okay, more successful. They're in every biome, every habitat.
Yeah, they're super adaptable, way more adaptable than us. You know, they can survive a huge range of temperatures and environments, much more so than humans. So I would say they beat us on our ability to, adapt.
Well, I don't think so, because we could survive.
Absolute zero.
Well, we couldn't, but we could find a way around it. We could make it so that it didn't fall to absolute zero. But the tardigrade has just got to put up with it and be frozen for 100 years or however long it takes. Yeah, it's good, but like, a triop egg in a pond that's dried out, like.
I don't know if a triop could survive almost absolute zero.
I'm talking about the eggs.
Yeah, I don't even think an egg could.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. Okay.
In terms of geographic range, they're found on every continent, including Antarctica. So breeding populations on Antarctica, that's not something we have. So they do beat us on that one, at the very least. And the ability to withstand an extinction event. Compared to most humans, I think... compared to most animals, I think humans are pretty well prepared in this instance because we have technology and the intelligence to seek shelter or coordinate the logistics around moving people away from regions of meteor impact. We understand radiation's bad or whatever, and we can see the meteors coming.
Yeah. Whereas these would survive because they're just everywhere.
Yeah, well, actually, the tardigrade doesn't care. They're expected to be able to survive gamma ray bursts, meteor impacts. They'd be fine with a rapidly warming Earth. Sea levels rise, so what,
What do they eat?
Actually, that's a good question.
Because it's all very well and good saying, they don't care if a meteor hits, but if all the plants die, or whatever they eat, I don't know what they eat, but...
What do they eat? Let me have a look. Ecology and life history. They either eat plants or bacterias.
Right.
Oh, some are carnivorous. And they actually some of them eat smaller species of tardigrades.
Oh, God,
so,
see? That we don't do that.
Yeah, because tardigrade is a phylum.
Okay. Yeah, we would do if we were a whole phylum.
Yeah, exactly. What other things do we eat in our phylum? Pretty much everything.
Well, everything nice.
We even eat things in our own bloody class and order. Some of us eat things in our own family. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm just thinking if that's so bad, like eating another primate, is it really so bad? Like, I probably would if it was the only thing on offer.
It's certainly weirder to eat things that are closer to you. But yeah, if I was starving, I'd eat a human. Lots of people do, don't they?
Yeah, if you say so.
They do. People who are starving throughout history have famously resorted to cannibalism.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm going to go out and say the tardigrade phylum is highly successful. And, if they could survive an extinction event that would kill off everybody in our phylum. What's our phylum? Chordata.
Yeah.
Yeah. all the chordates. Well, they're pretty good then. Last episode, we talked about the billionaires looking to take humanity into space. And many people were wondering whether it would be Branson, Musk, or Bezos who got there first.
Yeah.
But it looks like the real space race has been going on under our noses all this time. Because the real candidates for populating the galaxy may have very recently made their first step towards interplanetary expansion. In April, Israel had a privately funded moon landing mission called Bereshit. And as it was descending onto the planet, there were problems. And the spacecraft ended up crash landing, getting spread everywhere. It's recently emerged that on board the spacecraft was a tiny stowaway capsule that housed thousands of tardigrades.
See, they were asking for trouble, weren't they? Now, this isn't an attack against Israel, but why did they put them on there?
Well,
did
this
they
is
not
one of the
expect them?
things.
They know that tardigrades can survive a crash landing.
This is one of the things that's most shocking.
They've done it on purpose.
No, Israel and NASA, none of them knew this tiny capsule was on the spacecraft.
That seems... I thought things were checked.
Well, they'd given approval to an organisation called the AC, I think, Mission Foundation, who were putting a digital library of Earth's life on the lander.
Okay.
And that was just like a big old hard drive full of code and also a written, recorded history of human history or whatever, or life on Earth.
Totally useless to any aliens, probably, but...
Yeah, exactly. But people like to do weird things like that, don't they? Anyway, the co-founder of the organisation has come out and said, we didn't tell them we were putting life on this thing. Space agencies don't like last-minute changes, so we just decided to take the risk.
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty big risk, wouldn't you say?
I mean, is there no comeuppance for this? Is there no...
You know, you would think we'd be furious that these tardigrades are on another planet. They polluted the planet, yeah? Or, sorry, the moon. But NASA are apparently not that mad.
Okay.
Because international guidelines for interplanetary contamination, and there are some, they don't prohibit sending biological material to the moon. And that's because it's not thought to contain life.
Yeah.
And in fact, when you think about the Apollo astronauts, they all left microbial life there when they abandoned their waste on the surface. So actually, this is not the first time there's been other life other than humans on that planet. But yeah, it would have been a completely different story had the crash happened on Mars.
But the waste and things, if they just chuck it out the hatch, that would have died as... Anything living in that would have died as well, right? Because there's no atmosphere, no oxygen.
Yeah.
So it would have died. Like, I've heard tardigrades can survive in a vacuum.
Yeah, well, actually, they are the first animal to have been shown to survive in space.
Yeah.
So previous tests sent them up into orbit. They orbited the planet for 10 days, and then they brought them back down, and more than 60% of them survived the vacuum. So,
well, who knows if they just didn't get hungry, and that's where the other 40% went.
Good point. Very good point. Maybe they would have all survived.
100% survival without a bit of tardigrade on tardigrade action.
It's pretty weird, though, to think that there are some creatures up there on the moon, and, you know, they could still be alive.
Could be, yeah.
This is the thing. Lots of people think that they're not going to survive, although they can live in this dormant state. In, you know, they're not extremophiles. Extremophiles will seek out like or will live in an underwater mud volcano or whatever, and they can't survive away from those conditions. That's why that is how they're adapted to live.
Yeah, or super salty.
Yes, exactly. Whereas tardigrades are just built to endure those conditions until conditions return to a stable environment in which they can move around, go and find some food. So actually, these tardigrades are on the moon. Some of them may well still be alive, but they'll be in that dormant state, and they're very unlikely to emerge out of that.
Yeah, they'll be waiting for a long time for the conditions on the moon to get nice and lush.
Exactly.
Moon moss.
They'd need moon moss. They'd need moon water. They'd need food as well.
They've got each other.
They have got each other. That's true. Yeah.
You said there were thousands of them in this capsule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess it could be like a little Lord of the Flies situation.
On the back of this story, I was actually sort of reignited in my passion to start developing these little kits where, you can go to my website, you can buy a tardigrade kit. It comes with a little microscope, comes with a starter culture, Yeah,
I guess if you could get a relatively big species that was like 0.5 centimetre long, you wouldn't even need that strong a lens to see quite a good...
No, you could do it with a magnifying glass, in fact.
Yeah. Or like some sort of container with a magnifying glass
built into it
or something.
Yeah. I'm thinking of doing something like that. And I could now call them moon bears.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So you've always got my marketing hat on.
I think they'd sell well.
I think they would too, It's just because sea monkeys did. They were a fad. And they were dehydrated brine shrimp eggs.
Yes.
And I think that they were really good because they can live in this dormant state in a packet for ages, and then you can just pour them in, whatever, a couple of days later you see them.
Yeah, what's amazing with that is like it appears that something comes from nothing, right? You just put a little bit of food, a little bit of, eggs. But when you're a kid, you hardly really know what's going on until you're like, oh wow, these have turned into little shrimps.
There's an interesting trick, actually, that they pull. So when you buy a packet of sea monkeys, this is an insider secret, not that I am involved in the sea monkey estate, but when you buy a sea monkey kit, you get 3 packets. You get your water purifier, your eggs, and your food. Now, on day 1, you're supposed to put the water purifier in. And also sometimes that contains like a dye, so it makes the water blue and exciting for the kids. And then you're told that you add the sea monkey eggs 24 hours later. And when you put them in, you will see them hatch instantly, immediately.
Right.
And so you get instant life. But yeah, they hide, or they put eggs in the water purifier. So that whole bit is a sham.
Yeah.
And then all you're seeing are the eggs that have hatched the day before, and the sea monkeys are large enough now to swim around and to be spotted. So
Did you find this out by your own experimentation? You just were like, I'm just going to put the water purifier in, see what happens there.
No, I did some research on it. I was going to do a sea monkey study ages ago. I think I told you about it, didn't I? I still haven't got around to do it, where I compared different bottles of mineral water to see which one's the best.
At your desk at work.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got actually loads of bottles of water and loads of sea monkey eggs. I've just never gotten around to doing the experiment.
To be fair, that'd be a great BuzzFeed article, like...
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
Which mineral water gets most monkeys? What do you look for in a destination when you're booking a holiday?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, I thought so.
Price,
yeah.
I like to visit new countries.
As in, newly emerged?
Yeah, like South Sudan and North Korea. No, I like to visit countries that I haven't visited before. I like, generally, sun.
Yeah.
And Bella doesn't like the idea of going to a snowy place, but I would like that personally. I'd like to go skiing as well, so I wouldn't be too worried. But if I'm going somewhere sunny, coastal, so location relative to the beach is very important. I don't want there to be kids, really. I don't want to stay in a tacky place with kids. Yeah, I don't know. Probably all of that.
Yeah, I always think of you as going on holiday seeking culture as well.
Yeah, I do a bit of that.
Especially with your Greek and Roman classical literature that you got into recently.
Yeah, I do love that sort of stuff. And last year when I went to Crete and we got to see the Minoans, some of the first palaces and castles that were ever built, some of the first Greek settlements that were large enough to build palaces. That was incredible, and that history is really cool. But people who say, "Oh, I go there for the culture. I just want to do cultural things," I like that annoys me a little bit, because actually a holiday is about relaxing.
Yeah.
As well. And some days you do just want to relax by the beach with a nice book, eat lots of food, get drunk, have a bloody good relax. Yeah.
All good pursuits on holiday. Well, I'm sure you'll agree that Spain has been a popular holiday destination for British holidaymakers for the last half a century or more.
It has, yeah.
Yeah. Have you been to Spain?
I have very briefly been to Santander. I went on a whale watching.
Oh.
Well, I was a volunteer doing a trip from Plymouth to Santander in the north of Spain, over the Bay of Biscay, looking for whales. Saw some amazing whales, and then you enter the data of where they are, what species they are, and then for an organisation called Orca. But that's my only experience of Spain.
Well, it sounds like an awesome trip. I mean, I'm going to go for the hard sell on Spain in that case then. I mean, what's not to love? You've got tapas, paella, the beaches of the Costa del Sol, the discos of Benidorm, something for everyone.
The class of Ibiza.
But there's a new way to holiday in northern Spain, quite near Santander actually, which I think will appeal to you personally. I don't know if Bella will want to go with you, but... Instead of lounging around on the beach with a sangria, one company is hoping that people will choose to spend their holiday wearing a nappy deep in a cave in the Cantabrian mountains.
Wearing a nappy?
Wearing a nappy.
Well, that doesn't sound relaxing.
Well, yeah, I never said it was relaxing, but
okay.
I think you'll like it. Inside the cave, the company, Astroland, is attempting to simulate the conditions of a human settlement on Mars. So, you know way more about space than I do, so I'm talking to the... What is that phrase? Preaching to the choir. But one of the problems with colonising Mars, apart from getting there, is the environmental conditions, right? Mm-hmm. You've got very low temperature, strong winds, high levels of solar radiation, right? All right, for a tardigrade, but, you know, not for your package holiday.
No.
So the CEO of Astroland believes that the most suitable way to maintain human life up there is to go under the surface of Mars.
Right.
And so that's what they're trying to replicate in these caves in northern Spain.
Okay.
It's a 30-day experience, including 3 weeks of online training, which I don't think counts, right? Like, you stay at home and you do your... I don't know whether they're quizzes, I don't know what they are, but...
Oh, sorry, it's a 30-day experience including 21 days at your computer?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Right, okay, so it's a 9-day experience.
I think it's only a 6-day experience, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
So then once you've done your online training, you go to the Astroland campus and you undergo lots of different physical and psychological training to prepare you for your journey to Mars, right? Mm-hmm. So they'll teach you things about caving, which you would need to know if you were underground on Mars, and climbing and doing things like hydroponics to grow food without water and things. Mm. And then you get to do your 3-day stay on, in inverted commas, Mars, right? Let me show you what the inside of this cave looks like. I think you'll like it. Hang on.
Okay. I never really think about the cave systems of Mars.
Well,
but of course it's got cave systems.
And we could make one even if there wasn't.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, Curiosity and Opportunity, the rovers have found, you know, riverbeds and the lake beds. So obviously that same water below the surface would be carving out tunnels.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really odd to think about that.
The caves of Mars.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that looks interesting, actually.
Yeah,
it's the same website template as any of these types of things. when we talked about the floating city?
I do, yeah, I do.
It's the same template website for that. It must be a really popular WordPress template or something. Sorry, no, it looks really interesting. You get to wear a space suit.
Yeah, so obviously the interior of the cave is quite rouge, which is what you want from a holiday to Mars, I think.
Yeah,
Like,
okay,
nice
so
red
they've
rock.
done that to make it look Marsy.
No, I think that's natural.
Okay.
And then there are these domes. Can you see the domes?
Yeah, the domes look like tents.
Well,
What are they called? Are they called geo something domes?
Oh, I don't know.
Geo
Like the Eden Project, like those sort of.
Yeah.
Let's Google Eden Project.
Geodesic. I think that's just the shape.
Yeah, because these are made of triangles rather than the.
In differential geometry, a geodesic is a curve representing, in some sense, the shortest path between 2 points in a surface. Oh, I don't know what that bloody means.
Well, I'm sure the people building the domes do.
Yeah.
So inside these domes, you've got things like research labs fully equipped with, your 3D printers, all the things that you'd need if you're on Mars, robot explorers, even a little gym.
Mm-hmm.
And the domes are actually pressurized capsules with autonomous power and water production. So if you're up there in space, you could perhaps live in something like this, right?
Okay.
These are really the kind of things you would want on Mars, yeah?
Yeah.
The idea, more than testing the people, is to test the technology like this that would be necessary.
Is it, though? They say that. I don't think it is. I think this is somebody just capitalising on people who want to, have a bit of space tourism but can't actually afford a ticket on Branson's rocket.
Yeah. I mean, but they are doing scientific experiments, right? They are, as you mentioned, the spacesuit. So you're not allowed out of the capsule without wearing your made-to-measure antibacterial spacesuit. You have to be totally disinfected before you go into the capsules. And so they could be looking at things like whether these suits actually work at stopping contamination and things. Like, that is an experiment that needs to be done somewhere. Like, why not in a cave in northern Spain?
No, that is... Yeah, okay. That's a good point. Are they working with space organisations, though?
I believe so. It's with the European Space Agency's rules.
Oh, okay.
And they're also like going even further to try and simulate being in space. So you're only allowed to make one call during your stay, because can't be calling all the time. Long distance, isn't it?
Yep.
And all communications take 8 minutes to reach you when you're inside the dome.
That is crazy. So
Yeah.
they just put an intentional
just put a
8-minute
delay
delay.
Yeah. To make it more realistic, I think that's a nice little idea.
Yeah, that is a nice idea.
I mean, and who knows, like, in these underground caves, maybe, the moon exploration came up with so many good technologies for Earth use, so... Velcro, was it?
Did they come up with Velcro?
I feel like they came up with Velcro.
I'm not 100% convinced that this is a fully scientific effort.
Okay.
Because, for example, if I wanted to make a lot of money and, I thought one way to do that is to set up one of these things, be a space tourist. Let's do it with the suits and everything, all that. Pay me a load of money to do this. We're working with the space organisations. We're collecting all this data, conducting science experiments. Where does that actually go?
I do believe that they have... that the first mission, that's what they call it, that went in was like a proper crew, like proper scientists and things. And I think it was funded by, well, how things get funded, but like... Yeah, I mean, it's a mammoth effort to get into these caves and put all this together.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's very expensive to do.
Well, I mean, that was the first thing on your list of considerations, right? So you might change your mind when I tell you the cost.
Go on.
It's available to book on TripAdvisor right now.
Yeah.
£5,616.62 per adult.
That's very expensive.
For a 3-week experience?
Yeah. £5,000 for for 6 days underground. No way would I pay that.
Okay,
You can get a really quick round the world trip in a cruise ship for like $6,000. So don't quote me on that. But there's no way. I usually, I'm not going to spend that much on a holiday. That's a crazy amount. If you're spending that much on a bloody holiday, that you've got more money than sense.
I mean, it's true. I wouldn't want to get locked in a dark cave for 3 days. Firstly, I wouldn't want to have to do all the online training. I couldn't be bothered to do that.
Well, I'd probably skim it.
Well, I think you have to be like specially like approved, and they won't just let any old fella go down there. Like,
Well, they probably will if you pay £5,600.
True.
They're not going to say, "Oh, you can have your money back," are they? It was bloody expensive to set all that equipment up. I would like this experience. If somebody offered it to me, I'd do it for sure.
Well, maybe you could get a bit of we've given him a good advertisement. If you would stop slagging it off. Here's me trying to get you a free holiday to a cave.
No, if anything, they should give me the free experience so that I can come back and talk about how actually I have benefited science.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they should do.
Well, get in touch with them.
Probably not going to do that, are they? Maybe. All right, we'll see. The thing that bothers me is the nappy that you mentioned before anything else.
Oh, well, I mean, I just thought that was a nice little detail, right? So they're aiming to minimise the ecological harm done to, in this instance, the cave, but like in the real world, it would be Mars, right?
Yeah.
So they're like completely, the nappies are all biodegradable and stuff, and they can just be like stored. I don't know why they can't have a toilet.
Yeah.
I'd want a toilet. I don't really know why they can't have a toilet.
£5,000 and I don't have a toilet.
Yeah.
I'd be furious.
Yeah, you want ensuite for that price.